Good afternoon and welcome. It is the Joel Natale Show. We are live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here at 5th and State, also live on YouTube and on Facebook. We're having the crucial conversations that Erie needs, especially looking forward to this one here with Dr. Jon Anderson. He's the president of the Pennsylvania Western University, also known as PennWest University, PennWest Edinboro, PennWest California, PennWest Clarion. We want to welcome you to the Joel Natale Show. Dr. Anderson, welcome.
Thank you so much, Joel. Thank you for having me, and I really look forward to the conversation and representing PennWest.
You got it here. All right, we're a family show. Let's get your origin story. Tell us how you came up and how you got interested in education and kind of your CV, if you will.
Very good. I come from a long line of educators. A funny story, my grandfather on my dad's side is a dentist. His father was a dentist. My dad became a teacher, and I grew up around that environment. I thought I wanted to go into education for a long time, and so I went off to school, and I did some student teaching. Some of that was really enjoyable. Some was not so enjoyable. I decided to go
into pulling teeth, right? I mean,
like pulling teeth for sure. So I decided to go into finance, and I did that for a few years. But the itch just came back, and I wanted to have my professional career focused on helping public education fulfill its mission. That's where I kind of settled. And so I went back and got a teaching credential. I started teaching high school and coaching football, basketball, and track. I also drove the bus to the track meets. And had a great time. That was all in rural Georgia. Wow. And had a great time with that experience. But I wanted to work on the system of higher education, not just in it. And so I tried to find a path that would help me understand how big universities work, how organizations operate. So I went to the University of Kentucky, got a PhD in business administration and management, thinking I would learn how organizations operated, then go back into education and try to help the system. And I was fortunate after that experience to get hired back to the place I'd gotten a master's degree at the University of West Georgia, and spent a few decades there as a faculty member in administrative roles. Then got a chance to be the provost at Middle Georgia State. Then moved back to Utah as the provost at Southern Utah University. And in the provost role, you get the chance to work on the academic mission. Which programs, which student experiences are you having? And really from SUU, where I was last as the provost, had the chance to come to this fine institution of PennWest that had been recently merged, that was trying to figure out what vision it had for the future. And it was a perfect opportunity for me to merge the things that I love, helping public education help get people out of poverty into professions that can bring them a strong middle or upper class income, can provide a future for them and their families. I believe that's a role of public education. And it was great to see PASHE merge these institutions together, find out what's next, and for me to have the opportunity to come in and work with our good people to create that future.
All right, so just for clarity's sake, what is your hometown? Are you from Utah or from Georgia?
So I am from a little town called Bluffdale, Utah.
Okay.
Just about 30 miles out of Salt Lake City.
Oh, okay.
I went to school in Idaho, and I was sitting in the cafeteria one day, and this absolutely beautiful girl walked in, who is now my wife, and this spring we celebrate 30 years of marriage. She happened to be from Georgia. Okay. And so that was the connection. So we got married and finished school then in Utah State, and then went to Georgia for a few decades before graduate school.
Fantastic. Okay, that's fantastic. Okay, so Georgia football versus Pennsylvania football. I mean, you realize you're in Western PA, the home of Jim Kelly and Dan Marino and all those guys. You know,
yes.
I mean, they would definitely put a hurt on Georgia football, I would think, you know. But
oh, there's no doubt. I love the football up here. I'm a huge sports fan. Right. One thing I love about PennWest is we've got 50 NCAA athletic teams. I spend a lot of time watching sports, and I probably couldn't do it enough.
That's fabulous. So I love how you have a mission of working on education. Both it sounded like you worked on K-12. You were in administration at K-12, and now you're in administration in high ed. Tell us how difficult that is. I mean, you've got the one thing is you have multiple constituencies. You have the school board, you have the taxpayers, you have the parents, of course, you have the students, you have the teachers, you have administrative staff, support staff, bus drivers. I mean, think about all those constituents that you have to handle. It's like herding cats.
There are a lot of people who have vested interests, and I would add at PennWest, we have 9 collective bargaining agreements and 22 organized units. So we have the labor portion as well. But I'll tell you, there's a stream that runs through each of those groups. There are very few people who get into education at the K-12 level or at the higher ed that don't come in with the right heart. They come in wanting to make a difference. And when you have a group of people who want to do something good and you have a way of organizing them, you can make significant difference. But often it is challenging, herding cats. There's lots of different analogies, but I've found in every room that I walk into, I've got people with good hearts, great intentions, and if you listen to them, engage them, they can participate in the decision-making and building a future that is really mission fulfillment for us.
Let's talk about your time here at PennWest. You've been there about a year, right?
That's just over a year, yeah.
Just over a year. And something you can tout going into this in this school year is that enrollment has stabilized here with 10,548 total students. We're calling this the most stable numbers in a decade. Online is up 8%, dual enrollment up 270%. Talk through some of those numbers, what are highs, what are lows, that kind of thing.
Sure. So when people think of PennWest, they think about a merged institution. We are really a 4-campus institution. We have 3 face-to-face campuses who have a history that date back to Cal's beginning in 1852. Wow. And Edinboro's beginning in 1857, Clarion in 1867, a deep, rich history. We also have this 4th campus, which is reaching new markets. That's our online campus. And we have almost 4,500 students who are enrolled at PennWest completely online, meaning, and that's asynchronous online. They often do work on their own time, get their assignments in, and the first time they may set foot on campus would be at a graduation. And we have had the 3 campuses before the integration and since have had pretty significant enrollment declines. Some of that is due to demographic shifts, not as many students graduating from high school, but not all of it. A lot of it has to do with our need to help tell the story and the power of higher education to 15, 16, and 17-year-olds. So when they're wondering what they're going to do after higher education, after they graduate from high school, they have an option to go to a publicly funded institution, one of the lowest cost options in the state, in which they can pick a career that will set them up for the rest of their lives. Getting that message to 15, 16, 17-year-olds in a way that they want to come have an engaging experience on a campus, that is part of our enrollment challenge and has been, but that's what we're turning. Is the message of higher education, which, frankly, we've had in higher education. We take some lumps in the media, and a lot of it's justified. But we're working to turn that message and deliver the experience that students want and deserve.
It's interesting because to hear you say, okay, yeah, one is the demographic cliff, which we've kind of known now for about 10 years that something happened in 2008 and we stopped having as many children here in the United States. But something else has happened in the value proposition of higher ed, and the idea that it makes me what's a head scratcher for me, honestly, Dr. Anderson, and we can get into this a little bit here, is here you have 3 universities, 1852, 1857, 1867. This is long before even middle-class individuals would go to college. I mean, colleges were for teachers and ministers and the elite. And so somehow they were able to navigate those early lean years. And then, of course, post-war and the GI Bill caused the explosion, right? But what is it about this current generation that seems to be concerned about whether or not they want to jump into the pool for high ed?
So I would broaden that just a little bit to say there's a lot of students who finish high school today that there's a lot of studies that talk about this issue of failure to launch. They finished high school. They may not know what they want to do. If you look at what's happening in the economy, the trades need many, many people. The professions that require certificate, they need people. The workforce, they need people. Higher education needs people. The industries that require higher education, the doctors, lawyers, architects, all of those engineers, they need people. And so part of it is a student asking if they want higher education or not. Part of it is a student asking how they want to develop their future. And I fundamentally believe there has never been a time that a student graduating from high school has so many good options, because everybody wants them. And I think that causes some students to say, oh, I've got too many decisions to make. I'll just wait. I'll not jump in. I'll be hesitant. So for us at PennWest, we are a community-based university. If a student graduates high school and says, I want to go into the trades, I want to join a union, for us, that's great. It's a win. It's someone who's going to be a contributing member to society. If they want to come to us, prepare to be a teacher, a nurse, any of those things, we're ready to take them. And lots of trades are ready to take them. The struggle that all of us have collectively is when that student finishes high school and says, well, I'm just going to wait. I'm going to work retail. I'm not really going to start a profession. That's what we fight against more than anything else, because that's the population we serve.
Talk about parental attitudes toward higher ed. I have these conversations all the time. Again, I graduated with a communication arts degree, went to Gannon University, and it's served me well. I've been able to raise my kids to adulthood. I have an Edinboro alum as one of my offspring. I mean, we value higher ed here, and I just get into it with parents and say, well, all they need is to learn some kind of a skill, some kind of a hands-on skill, and then they have to work, and they kind of limit what you've been talking about as far as critical thinking and developing your own personal worldview and all the things that are kind of the soft parts of going through a higher educational experience.
Sure. I think parents play such a critical role in sitting down with their child at an early age saying, what do you want to do? How can we help you pick out a meaningful career? How can you sustain yourself and your family if you choose to have one? What are the future options for you? And I think you're exactly right. A lot of parents will say, just pick something you want to do, get a little skill, get a certificate, go to work. Well, and that's great. We support that. But 2 years later, that student who now has 2 years of work experience may want to get promoted into management. And that management job requires either a bachelor's degree or it requires a skill set that they may not have developed. They may do a great job working a bench, doing whatever they're doing with their hands. But as soon as they're in charge of other people, and they have to be able to work with other people, build collaborative relationships, hear other people's concerns, be able to navigate them, do reflective thinking, that's the time that those skills kick in. We're trying to meet that market as well. We have at PennWest almost 4,500 students. That's a huge number who are 100% online. And it is that population that at some point said, I don't want higher education, I'm just going to do this. Then 5 years later, they're like, I really need it.
Yeah.
And that's graduates, it's undergraduates, it's across the board. And so we're trying to fit each of those niches. And if a parent tells a child, go get a job, get some skills, get some experience, see what you want to do, and then come back, I totally support that. I think it's a great path for people to walk. But we're trying to build an institution at PennWest, no matter where that person is in their career trajectory. When the time comes when they say, I need a credential that a higher education institution can offer, we're going to be there, face-to-face, online, any modality we can to help serve that student so they can come at a very reasonable price. A lot of students get turned off from higher education because their parents say it costs too much. If you look at what we charge, you can get a full 4-year bachelor's degree for about one semester at a lot of private institutions. It is significantly discounted, and we still retain all of the quality. And so we're trying to be the state system institution, just like the other PASHE schools, that serves those niches well.
We're talking to Dr. Jon Anderson. He's the president of PennWest Edinboro, and we're going to take our first break here. It's 421, Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. Mute. It's Talk Erie on the Joel Natale Show. Talking to Dr. Jon Anderson. He is the president of PennWest Edinboro, Clarion, and California here. Dr. Anderson, let's talk about how the three-school system works. I mean, it's one school. It's Pennsylvania Western University, 3 campuses. Can you just kind of go through how does it pragmatically work?
Sure. So let me take you back to my time in Georgia. I was the provost at an institution named Middle Georgia State University. It was also a consolidated university. There were 2 institutions that merged together. We have 5 physical campuses and about a 182-mile loop to drive to all of them. So I'm familiar with that system. PennWest is the combination of those 3, and we have a 4th campus, which is our online campus. We intentionally, and this was done before I got here, it was built that way so we could serve those populations with purpose. So a student comes to Clarion, Edinboro, California, out of high school, or they return to take classes. They get the same face-to-face, residence hall, high student life-driven experience that you would at any other residential campus. In addition to that, they have access to faculty in the online campus and at the other 2 campuses. So a typical student for us will take a lot of face-to-face classes. And sometimes they'll take a class that is what we call mixed modality or hybrid, meaning they'll be in a class communicating through Zoom like we are today, while they're in a class with a professor teaching all the students on multiple campuses. That allows a student to learn beyond just their one institution. So they have access to a lot more faculty, a lot richer set of courses than they would if they were just on one single campus. And so that's the student experience side. Administratively, we have one cabinet, that's the president and the vice presidents, that oversees all of PennWest, including the 4 campuses, 3 physical and online. On each of the campuses, we have a campus leadership team that functions as kind of the day-to-day oversight of activities. And then we have academic colleges and departments that span the entire institution. So setting it up that way, we're able to spend less on administration, which frees up more money to spend on the student experience. That's how we were designed as an integrated institution, and I think that's playing out well.
Yeah, I mean one of the knocks against higher ed is that a lot of the increase in tuitions and things have gone into marketing and administration, football coaches and things like that. Have you been able to hold the line on some of those expenses with this kind of model?
We've been able to cut down on administrative costs pretty significantly. Let me give you some specific examples. Every university that distributes Pell Grant money or Title IV financial aid, they have to be accredited. And we have one accreditation for all four of our campuses, 3 physical, 1 online, which allows us to do that once instead of 4 times. So we have one set of costs instead of 4 sets of costs. We repeat that everywhere we possibly can. And so we're cutting out 3/4 of what we would have to spend. That way we're able to deliver a better quality student experience with those funds we freed up.
Yeah, things like, what software program you're going to run, for student management and grades and all the things that you just save a lot more money by getting one license for all those students here. I want to talk about your priorities for this year. We've got about a couple minutes here. Strengthening campus density, building leadership, and expanding partnerships. Can you get into that a little bit here?
Sure. So if you look at PennWest and if you look at PASHE, if you look at a lot of the institutions in the Northeast, they've shrunk over time. PASHE's down tens of thousands of students overall, and our campuses are down. We haven't yet adjusted the physical footprint to acknowledge that decrease in face-to-face enrollment. And so we're doing a study across all our physical campuses to bring people into a closer set of buildings. So when students show up, when faculty and staff show up to work, it feels more dense and feels more alive. That's will help deliver the experience we want on campus. It also saves us money operationally because we're able to mothball buildings that are on the outskirts of campus. We don't have to heat them, cool them, all those things. So that's the big creating density initiative. We are fortunate at PennWest. We have a lot of leadership people or people in leadership positions. Many of them are very new. And we're bringing on some new vice presidents and other things this year. And creating a strong leadership team that is inclusive, that listens well. We call it the PennWest way, in which we engage everybody in conversations in ways they want to connect again. That type of leadership development is what we're trying to infuse throughout the university. That'll take some time, but that's an open initiative that we talk regularly about. So those are our big things. And then we're building a strategic plan, doing a number of other things to help draft what that future for the institution will look like.
When you think about the strategic plan, you're planning on all 3 campuses. Is that correct?
Yeah, we're planning for PennWest, which includes all 3 campuses and online.
Okay, yep. So I guess one of the big panic points here in Erie County is we are in the extreme northwest. We want to keep our campus. The campus is absolutely essential to the life and growth of Erie County.
100%. And we can say the same thing in Clarion in California. PASHE made an intentional decision to keep every campus, to keep the athletic teams open. We are live, vibrant, and we will be here for long term.
We've got a break at the bottom of the hour. Dr. Jon Anderson is with us. It's Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show. Talk Erie on the Joel Natale Show, 434, live from our Kingdom Financial Group studio here. Dr. Jon Anderson is the president of the Pennsylvania Western University, PennWest Edinboro, PennWest Clarion, PennWest California here. And Dr. Anderson, I want to get to how this works for students in this setup here, because you're about to launch this experiential learning center, learning by doing. I think that's really exciting. But one of the big concerns before we go on is, what professors get to what students at what place. Now, again, if you're signing up for the online campus, you expect everything to be on a screen. But if you, let's say, are in one of a core curriculum class, English, speech, philosophy, and whatever those core curriculum classes are, how often, let's say, will the Edinboro students get an in-person prof vis-a-vis the California or Clarion students, or for those core curricula, is that pretty much it could go either way, I guess?
So most of that is determined by student choice. Okay. And when a student comes to us, it's like 80 or 90% of the time as a freshman, they'll have fully face-to-face classes. Okay. Now, if they want a specific general education class that only a small number of students want, it may be through one of the mixed modality. So they'll have that online. But the far majority of our undergraduate first year, second year experience is face-to-face traditional. Now, if they want to go as a junior and senior into like a small niche area, get a minor or certificate here, they have that opportunity. A lot of that stuff is hybrid, but we're really focusing on anchor or keystone programs on each of the campus so the student can come, have the full face-to-face experience their whole time, and then have the option to supplement as they choose to through online courses.
Now, are there kind of centers of excellence? Again, Edinboro's kind of known for its animation program, for example. So if you're a Cal kid but are interested in animation, you might either go to Edinboro or stay in Cal, get your first couple years of gen ed stuff going, and then take the hybrid stuff? Is that how that works?
Sure. So students going between our campuses, and this includes online and face-to-face, that is very, very seamless for us.
Okay.
So if a student gets 2 years on the Cal campus and says, I really want that major face-to-face in Edinboro, Clarion, or online, it's one conversation and they're in and it's gone. So it's very seamless for the student experience. But we do have centers of excellence, you could call it. We have just launched schools in education, school in nursing, and school of business. We intentionally did that so students would have a hub to connect with across all of our campuses. And those are our three largest majors. Education itself makes up about 20% of our total enrollment. There is a huge chance if you're going to public education in Western Pennsylvania, at some point in your career, you're going to see some of our alums in the classroom. Second to that is health professions. Nursing is the largest of that group. We have respiratory therapy and other programs that flow out from that, including medical imaging. And then the third one's business. And all of those are face-to-face on the campuses, in addition to being online. And that's the student experience that students have as they work their way through.
Talk about education for a second there. About a week or so ago, we had a conversation with the chief talent officer with the Pennsylvania Department of Education. And basically his role is to generate interest in becoming a teacher, a K-12 teacher, right? At one point, Edinboro had 1,000 students, within the past 10 years, 1,000 students between undergrad and graduate school in the Department of Education, as well as online. Why? Again, you're an educator. Have you seen that slippage in interest in becoming a K-12 educator, and why? What are your thoughts on all that?
I certainly have seen it, and that's happening across the country. I've lived in states around the country and seen it everywhere that I've been. There are lots of places that are coming with alternate pathways to licensure. But I think at some point we have to have a national conversation about the teaching profession and how we can ennoble a K-12 teacher. So in Western Pennsylvania, we are part of an ecosystem of lots of fantastic institutions of higher education. We are a huge producer. About 20% of our credit hours are in education. That includes first-time teachers, superintendent licensure, all the way up through doctoral programs. So we have the vehicle to produce the number of teachers. What we don't have is, it goes back to the earlier conversation about this issue of failure to launch. How do you go to a 17-year-old and say, if this is your path, here's the least expensive way to get there. We have all the experiential learning built into it, and we can produce as many teachers that are needed. We just got to continue to work collectively on what the beginning of that pipeline looks like. And at the end, how rewarding in terms of finances and benefits and those things that profession is for incoming students. On the other side of the coin, though, is it seems like nursing and health professions, we can never have enough of them, but they are for people going to higher ed, that seems to be the driver across the board, isn't it? It is for sure. But we have the same situation we produce a lot of nurses, fantastic programs, great pass rates on the NCLEX. They're working in hospitals all over Western Pennsylvania and beyond. But still, our hospital partners come back and say, we need more. We need more. There's an insatiable desire for nurses. We have the pathways. We've just got to get 16, 17, 15-year-olds to say, I'm willing to commit, whether it's a 2-year ASN program, which we have a lot of those, 4-year bachelor's in nursing program, 4-year teacher in education program. We've got to get students willing to say, I'm willing to commit to train myself so I can have this career for the next 40 years. And that's what we're working on our K-12 partners with, to make sure we get in as early as possible to share that message. I'm proud to say also that my daughter-in-law is a proud Edinboro, honors grad, BSN. And again, she writes her ticket wherever she is. She was an Army wife. Wherever she wanted to work, she could work. Critical care nurse, It's a fantastic profession. Yeah. Really is good. We've got such good faculty in that area. Let's talk AI, because I feel like AI is kind of the wrinkle, but you guys are trying to get your arms around it and actually get ahead of it. Talk about what you're doing at PennWest. Sure. So our history is as a teaching institution. That's been our role for 150 or more years, these 3 campuses and beyond. So with AI, we intentionally created the Center for AI and Emerging Technologies, because we don't know what's next. Something will come, and it'll come sooner than we think, that'll help enable or strengthen AI or go beyond AI. So our role for that center is not to create AI. There are lots of people doing that. Our role is to teach how we use AI in all the other functions of business, all the other functions of organization and daily life. And so our Center for AI and Emerging Technologies is the hub for a K-12 teacher who says, I really want to integrate AI in my classroom. We can pull those people together, train them how to do it, then they go back. So we're much more in the training and development and teaching arm, which is in line with our mission as an institution. Much more of that, less about the development, although we do have degrees in computer science that work on the development side as well. Talk about these AI Essentials licenses. What does that bring to the table? So we partner with many organizations. We have a partnership we just signed with Google that allows us to have 500 free AI Essential licenses, and that's managed by our center. And those are licenses that are usable and passable to different people. So at any one time, we can have a faculty member, a staff member, or a student engage through the Google suite of services to learn all about what AI is, how they can use it, and enable it. And so it's one of our great partnerships in our Center for AI and Emerging Technologies to help get that training done. The Experiential Learning Center. Let's chat about that. Again, the idea to give different options, including global ones, for your students, right? That's exactly right. So we have had a career center for a very long time. And one of our roles is to take a student who finishes their academic work and help them have a smooth transition into the workforce. A lot of employers want soft skills. They want people who can show up on day one, be a great team member and a great worker. And our shift in this from the Career Center to more of an experiential learning approach is to make sure we integrate both directions. That we have experiential learning as a student goes through their academic experience. You think about education or about nursing or business, often your junior and senior year, you're in a hospital, you're in a classroom, you're working for a business. So this is one hub center to help make sure that we're taking advantage of all of those experiential learning in the academic enterprise as they go through their program and also as they're transitioning. And so we can help them have internships, applied apprenticeships. And so if they don't get the job they want as soon as they graduate, we can help them and set up ties for them to start to have an experience that'll get them into the profession they want. And we didn't touch on it earlier, but that's an important part of PennWest, because if a student is just in Edinboro and goes to the Experiential Learning Center, it's likely Edinboro has great connections in Erie and all around, but because we're PennWest, that person they're talking to, that staff member in the Experiential Learning Center, will have connections in central western Pennsylvania, in the Pittsburgh area, below down by Cal, and within a few phone calls, that student now has access to everything up and down western Pennsylvania. And so it's a real benefit to have an experiential learning center that has hubs all up and down western Pennsylvania for every student on every campus.
It's, kind of reminds me of when I was undergrad and on the campus radio station. You have this, classic campus station there in Edinboro, WFSE, the Spectator newspaper, and all, again, for those comm students or for the students in animation, those animation labs actually creating these things, just diving right in with a practical experience, right? I mean.
Oh, without a doubt. And that is so important in every field, because you learn so much in the classroom. But those of us who have been teachers, as soon as you walk out of the classroom and you're on the other side of the desk and it's your job now to teach, it is a drastically different experience. And sometimes it's shocking. And sometimes when people hit that point, they don't like it and they go to a different profession. But if we can get them to have many experiences, whatever it is, in nursing, healthcare, business, so they start to grow and develop as they learn in the classroom, that produces the best results for students and the employers that will hire them.
You recently received your accreditation through Middle States. You're good through 2033. Let's talk about some of the things that they thought PennWest was doing well, and some of the things you might be working on.
Sure. So let's start with things we're working on. It was very interesting. I came in at the end of this process. I've been here just over a year. A lot of the work was done before I got here, and we have such good teams working across all three campuses. But this institutional accreditation is a standard of quality, and it's a stamp of approval by an accrediting body that we're meeting that standard of quality. And so the things that we're working on are the things that most higher education institutions are working on right now, and that is financial stability, making sure that we're balancing and strengthening our enrollment. And even though those are things we're working on, we got clear marks. We are fine and been approved by the board to move forward. And so we're good for 7 years. The strengths were across the board. They really appreciated what had happened, the significant work that went into integration. They were surprised that we were as far down the integration path as we were just 2 years after the start of the integrated institution. They were pleased with the shared governance parts of that integration process, the number of committees that were involved and people who were involved. And then they spent days on campus, meeting with faculty, meeting with students, meeting with staff, seeing how the inner working of PennWest happens. And observing those days when they were here, I think they left with lots more inspiration than they did questions, because we've become a vibrant institution that's integrated and went through a challenging process to do that. But that was the take-home message. It's very rare for them to leave with no findings, and that's what we had.
Let's finish up with Dr. Anderson here, talking about that new strategic plan. And it goes without saying that the presence of PennWest Edinboro, is a humongous economic driver for Erie County and the region in general. Again, it's the only state PASHE school between here and and the other two. Schools. There's not another state school around. And talk about that sustainability, and that anchor here in Erie County. Is that what you're going to be planning around? Is keeping all three campuses viable, or is there, is a in the realm of possibility that we will have to consolidate further? Do you think?
Oh, we are. I want to make sure I'm crystal clear on this. Everything we do at the institution is going to be focused on a 4-campus solution. Okay. Edinboro, Clarion, California, and online. They all complement each other, and they all serve different regions. I think it was very forward thinking of the legislature and of PASHE to keep our 3 physical campuses open the way that they are, and they will continue to be. Because we serve a student, and our student can be the brightest in their area. We have lots of people who could go many other places, big research schools, but they choose us because of what we provide. We also serve the student who is unsure of their own ability to succeed, who we are likely the only school they are considering. Many people may not know this, but we can pull a report from the Department of Education each fall semester that shows us, of all the places our students applied but settled on coming to us. And when you look at that list, it's not like people are choosing between us and Ohio State.
Right.
For a lot of our students, we are the only option they're considering. They may consider Edinboro or Clarion or Slipper, whatever it is, one of the PASHE institutions, because we're within reach, we are very cost effective, and we have quality outcomes. And so if we shrunk further, there's huge student populations that wouldn't get served, and they just wouldn't go. And so I don't see any future that any of the 3 physical campuses would shrink or get diminished. Our plans will be focused on growing the 3 physical campuses and growing online and serving all Western Pennsylvania from Lake Erie to the West Virginia line. I think we do it incredibly well, and we'll be here for the long run. Yeah,
again, we're having this conversation because we absolutely see the importance of Edinboro in this area, and PennWest Edinboro regionally. We haven't even talked about things like the beehive and all that it contributes to small business and entrepreneurship here, and talk about homecoming over the weekend. My gosh, it is this vibrant. It really reminds you of the power of that university in the everyday life of Erie County. So any final thoughts? I just want to kind of open it up to you of, as you talk to, whether I have small businessmen, nonprofit executives, or just that average Joe that likes talk radio. Chat with my audience a second there.
Well, Joe, I want to thank you. This has been a really fun conversation. I love talking about PennWest. I hope that comes through. I love the fact that regional universities like our 4-campus solution at PennWest serve the needs of local populations. We've been here for more than 150 years, multiple campuses. We are going to be here for the long run. I want everyone who's listening to this to know that we want to partner. We want to be close to every intermediate unit, every school district. We want to provide the higher education needs in all of Erie, and would not just do that to benefit us. Our purpose is to lift up communities. That's why the state funds us. We're very mission driven, and we're going to work tirelessly to make sure that we're elevating every part of the region that we serve. So you mentioned a few things like the Beehive, our Experiential Learning Center, and our AI Center. All of those are community-based outreach opportunities. People should think of a university today not like a place you go to get a degree and leave. We are a part of the heart and the brains of a community ecosystem. We acknowledge that's who we are, and we work tirelessly every day to fulfill that mission.
Dr. Jon Anderson, the president of the Pennsylvania Western University, PennWest, and I appreciate you taking the time, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Joel.
It is 4:54. Talk Erie and the Joel Natale Show.